They don't want to believe this. No, they think they're so smart they would be able to spot it. But I always did a disclaimer. Danny Tong, do you know the name Danny
Sure,
Tong?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Danny Tong used to say, I have used my five senses to create the illusion of a sixth.
That's actually Ned Rutledge.
Is it?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
know that. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know. I knew that Danny used it.
yeah.
But-
Yeah, Ned Rutledge was a,
Oh, really? Okay.
Fantastic
I'm going to
person.
store that in for me.
yeah.
There you go.
No, what he would say is, I am using the five normal senses to create the illusion of a sixth. That's what it
Okay.
is.
Yeah, now that's a pretty good disclaimer. It could be a little more complete. But as Banachek and as I used to do when I did after the first year or so, when I
Yeah.
was riding high,
Yeah.
and I was going to be a mentalist and not tell them that it might have been a trick, you see. But when I had an episode, well, very briefly, a fellow called around at my house when I was working at this nightclub. I was getting $75 a week. In those days, that was a fortune. And it was table work. I was going around from table to table. They took a candle, can't do that on this ship, and a candle, and they moved from table to table with the next candle, and I would go to the next table and do that. And I wouldn't accept tips, but I was being paid $75 a week to do this, and I was doing very well. A guy called at my house. He found my address from the nightclub somehow, and he said, look, I will give you $75 a week, exactly what I was still earning. And he said, you can continue at the nightclub, and I will bring you racing forms. And he said, all you have to do is go over it and make an X any place you want. It doesn't have to be a winner, because I know eventually when I get a winner this way, it will be a landslide. And I looked at him and I said, no, what I do is a trick. And he said, no, I mean the stuff that you do at the club. I said, that's what I'm talking about. It's a trick. He said, I've seen it, and I know what a trick looks like, and that's not a trick. That was the end. I put him out in the street, and I gave up the mentalism thing. Not the mentalism thing as a
Playing
study,
for real.
and hobby, and that sort of thing. I carried that on. I still have that. And I still do the occasional thing like this, but I preamble and I post-amble on the thing saying, it is a trick. So anyway, that's...
I haven't, just my version, I've used different kinds of disclaimers, and I'll have one that will be quite interesting for the show I'm gonna do on Friday. But Doc Shields is like I was saying, a good friend of mine. People don't know who he is. He's over in the UK. He uses what's called a double bind, which is, and I think it's brilliant because to me it's like a disclaimer that doesn't. What he does is he gets up and he says, I don't use any supernatural powers. I don't have anything that makes me any more powerful than you, so leave me alone. In other words, he protests so much that he's doing a disclaimer, but people go, what's his problem? You know, it's like, why is he so worried about it if it's just a trick, you know? So, and he's very good at it because he leaves a question in your mind, and I don't know, I mean, that's the difference between me and all of you skeptics out there. I like to have a little mystery somewhere, you know. I mean, it's hard for me.
The media is to blame for this because the media promotes this sort of thing all the time, as we've already discussed. They make it believable. Everything from Chupacabras all the way to ESP and such. They make that sort of thing believable, and then the academic world, reading this in the media, they say, oh, there can't be this much evidence and there isn't some fire behind it. Sometimes when you smell smoke, it's just smoke. There's not necessarily a fire, you know?
So, yes, Lynn.
So with the first sighting of a